It's the week of April 9th, I think. But more importantly, it is the week of April 13th, which is internationally recognized Homestuck Day. I mean, it's not internationally recognized, it's just like regular recognized. I'm going to do a video about Homestuck this week. I've explained bits and pieces like what it is and why I'm all about it, but I feel like I haven't really gone into too much detail about it, but that's something I will definitely be doing this week. But first, let me talk about weird-ass people on the internet. As I've explained before, I don't really get out much, and a lot of my friends are farther away, so I don't get a chance to talk to people a lot. So naturally, I am a slut for any sort of attention. I usually get on a bunch of apps like Whisper, Omegle, a bunch of those random chat apps, just because I'm bored, to find people to talk to. And I was on Whisper last night and talked to a couple people. Talked to one girl about Lord of the Rings for like an hour. Talked to one guy about his job as a security guard. It was kind of cool. But I ended up getting matched with two people who had almost the exact same story. And it's honestly a little sad, but they both claim that they thought their spouses or significant others or whatever were cheating on them. And they wanted me to start Snapchatting them to get them to prove that they were cheating on them, so then I could give them the pictures of evidence they were cheating on them. When in reality, it was the same person on both accounts. Like, they were like, hey, come check out my significant other's Twitter or Snapchat, and then they were the ones using the Snapchat. They were just trying to get me to chat with them on Snapchat and send them pictures or whatever. And it's like, A, it was so obvious, and B, if you really have to resort to that kind of trickery to get to talk to someone, you probably shouldn't be around people at all. It's Tuesday, I'm on my way to work, and fuck this day. It has just been bullshit thing after bullshit thing. First of all, I don't know why my skin is doing this shit where it's red as fuck and itchy all the time, and I haven't changed my diet. Nothing's changed in any of my habits or anything, so I don't know why all of a sudden my skin's deciding it just doesn't want to cooperate. So it's really gross looking, and I hate it. On top of that, I usually rarely ever get razor burn when I'm shaving. It's just never been an issue for me. But the past 2 or 3 times that I've shaved, I've got razor burn, which I think is probably related to the skin issue I'm having. I don't know, but because of that, my skin fucking hurts. It hurts to shave, so now I'm not getting as close of a shave as I used to. And it just fucking sucks. It's just extremely irritating to deal with on top of all my other shit, and then all of a sudden skin problems want to show up and fucking ruin my goddamn day. I'm not about that life. I'm not about that. What else is going on this week? Next 2 days off. So, we're going to talk about Homestuck. I'm going to love it. You guys are going to hate it. And then, that's pretty much par for this channel. I am editing the last 2 videos of the channel that I haven't put up. It seems to be kind of, I don't know how it's been going, where I've been doing 2 videos at a time, so I don't know. Hopefully in the future I fix that and start posting more frequently and not being an ass. Oh my gosh, I just kind of got a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I really need to start losing weight. I wouldn't call myself fat, I don't look fat, but I can just tell I'm a lot heavier than I've been in the past, and it's just something I need to fix, ASAP. So tonight's the last night as far as pop and junk food. I'm gonna eat some shit tonight, but I'm done. I gotta be done with that shit. I'm gonna start going running again. I need to get my shit together, super bad. Plus the healthier weight I am, the better the hormones will take when I start hormones. So, I need to do it, I need to get healthy, but I'm kind of sick of the way I look, and I feel like being skinnier is gonna help that a lot. So, no more pop, no more energy drinks, no more junk food. I've said that in the past, but legit, I'm done. I've reached a point where now I just can't. So I'm done with that shit. Yeah. It's April 12th, and tomorrow is April 13th, which is 4/13. It's the anniversary of Homestuck. I mentioned last week I was going to do a video about Homestuck, and this is kind of it. I'm going to try not to spoil a bunch of stuff, but there are going to be major spoilers. And I think the Homestuck is definitely something that you should try to get into spoiler free. So if spoilers aren't your thing, don't watch this video. Sorry. If you don't give a shit, you should give a shit, but watch the video anyways, whatever. So basically, Homestuck is a webcomic. So for those of you who don't know, it's a comic that you would read online, just in case you didn't know. And it started April 13th of 2009. It was first hosted on the website MS Paint Adventures. The author, Andrew Hussey, he had actually created other webcomics before this, hosted on the same site. Things like Bard Quest and Jailbreak. So Homestuck was just another step in his progression of making new comic. Homestuck it gets very complicated, so it's kind of hard to really fully explain. It's definitely something that can't be summed up in a small amount of space or time. The comic gets set up online, similar to like a text-based adventure game, where the links to the next pages are commands for what the character is doing in game. And initially, when he wrote the comic, fans of the comic could submit ideas or suggestions for what the main character should do next. But then shortly after, Hussey decided to kind of do his own thing and stop taking suggestions. But yeah, the early pages of Homestuck kind of play out like an early text-based adventure game. The plot, which is extremely convoluted and complicated, it's basically about these four kids, John Egbert, Jade Harley, Dave Strider, and Rose Lalonde. And the comic starts in universe on April 13th, which is John's birthday. And they play the beta copy of a game called Suburb. And they don't really know much about it. They just kind of heard rumors online that it's supposed to be this really good game. So they begin playing it. And as they install their copies of the game and begin playing it, they actually trigger the end of the world through a meteor shower. And they realize quickly that they need to start the game up to avoid being killed by the meteor shower. So the four main characters, they start the game, and as they play it, they actually get transported to, I guess, another dimension. It's really not explained too much in the comic, but another realm, quote unquote, that is the game universe itself. Everyone on Earth is dead, there's pretty much no survivors, and now these kids are kind of trapped in this game realm trying to beat the game. They find out along the way that the prize for winning the game is the ability to create a new universe, and the four of them would become gods of this new universe. So that's kind of what they're setting out to do, is to kind of fix everything that they caused. Each kid, they get their own personal planet that they get to live on, and their own personal quests that they have to complete, and the four of them have their own trials and things they have to go through in order to complete the quests and ultimately win the game. But along the way, early on, even before they start playing the game, they actually get contacted by aliens from another universe, which they think that they're talking to some random ass internet trolls, which ironically enough, the race of aliens they are talking to are actually called trolls. There are 12 trolls that played their own version of the game in their planet, and they lost. They almost beat the game, and something went wrong, and now they lost, and now they're kind of trapped on this meteor with no way out of the game. And they find out that the version of the game the kids are playing sort of inadvertently, through crazy complicated events, cause their version of the game to mess up, and which is why they can't win. So the trolls try to guide the kids to win their version of the game to hopefully fix everything. And that's honestly the most basic way I can explain the plot. It gets crazier after that because universes get destroyed, universes get reset, there's a time-traveling demon, there's all sorts of just craziness, and I could literally spend hours trying to explain the plot of Homestuck, and I really don't want to, because honestly, even though I've read the comic several times, and I feel like I'm pretty well versed in Homestuck lore, there's still a lot that I probably don't know and that I would get wrong. So you should probably just go read it yourself. It's really good. A lot of the dialogue in the comic takes place through their version of Internet Instant Messenger. So I mean, the kids, the main characters in question, they're 13 years old. So a lot of the things they say, they're kind of, I guess, cringy or whatever. They use a lot of internet slang and whatnot. But it's really kind of fun, especially if you grew up, early mid 90s and kind of grew up with the internet. It is kind of nostalgic, I remember spending hours a day, just getting in chat rooms with my friends and just goofing off. But a lot of the humor and dialogue, it's It very much comes from like that era that it was produced, 2009 to like 2015 or whatever. So some of the jokes now, they kind of don't quite land. I feel like this kind of past decade, as far as like internet memes and whatnot, jokes come around and then they're good for a week, and then the next day they're forgotten, and then everyone forgets about them and they're not funny anymore. And I feel that's kind of the way with Homestuck. It's still like funny, and entertaining after the comic's been done, but you can tell some of the jokes and lines don't quite age well. It's very like pop culture reference heavy. One of the villains in the comic is Betty Crocker. Like, I'm not even joking. Betty Crocker, Guy Fieri, and the Insane Clown Posse are actual villains in this comic. Just to give you an idea of how stupidly insane the whole thing is. But there's a few reasons why it's so important to me, I guess. I met a lot of good friends online through Homestuck, through like websites like Tumblr and the MSPA forums and whatnot. And it was just kind of fun and exciting to read the comic along with them, and then we immediately text each other, message each other, oh my gosh, did you see the update? And it was just insane. The Homestuck fandom as a whole, it was always chaos whenever the comic updated. Everyone was instantly creating theories about what was going to happen next. People were making cosplays and fan art like the second a new character was introduced. They were so just manic and crazy, and I absolutely loved it. Especially the major like plot heavy animations and panels of Homestuck. It got super crazy. I think I mentioned last week, but there's one animation in particular. It was aired October 25th. It was the end of Act 5, I think, of the comic. It was kind of, I guess, in layman's terms, kind of a season finale kind of thing. It's a 10 minute long animation, and it was absolute insanity. You learned a lot of very plot heavy things about Homestuck that kind of changed. It kind of colored everything that happened before and kind of foreshadowed a lot of stuff that was going to happen next in the comic. People went insane. Andrew Hussey tried to host the animation on his website, MS Paint Adventures. That didn't go. We crashed the website. They tried to host it on Newgrounds. Crashed Newgrounds, which at the time Newgrounds was a website for hosting. It still is, but I'm hosting Flash animations and videos and games and whatnot. A very popular, well-run website, and it got crashed because everyone was trying to watch this animation at one time. People were downloading it and hosting it to other websites, crashing those websites. Like, it was just absolute chaos and insanity. Like, you would have thought the world was ending. And I think that was probably the peak of like craziness as far as within the fandom. I mean, there was obviously other things going on, but Cascade really caused a lot of craziness. And there was another Flash animation later on in the comic, I think like Act 6 or something, called Game Over. A lot of main characters die in the comic, and people lost their collective shit. Like, the fandom flipped out. But it was interesting to kind of sit back and watch that and watch people talk to each other, interact with each other. So that's one reason why I really loved it, because it was an experience. Like, really was. Like, there was nothing like Homestuck, and I don't think there ever will be. It was a very unique experience. It kind of sucks people reading Homestuck now. They're not going to get quite the same experience as the people who read it the first time. Because again, there's a lot of jokes that don't quite land now. There are a lot of things that contextually, like within the fandom, if you weren't really involved with the fans of Homestuck, the comics didn't hit quite as hard. I don't know, it was just a lot of craziness. But another reason why I really like it, 2009 to 2015-16 took place over much of my college years, and I feel like that's where I kind of did a lot of growing up and development as a person. And Homestuck really influenced that. I feel a lot of my personality traits and kind of humor comes from Homestuck, and I don't know, I definitely see myself looking back on Homestuck as a nostalgic thing. I don't know, it just came around at a very important time in my life, so I really kind of connected with it. All the characters in the comic are very relatable. I mean, they're all kids, and as they age through the comic, so did us fans, so we kind of grew up with them, and it's just really kind of important to me. And I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people take things from their childhood and they become super important to them and nostalgic and whatnot. And for me, that's Homestuck. Homestuck took place over a lot of my youth, quote unquote, and I'm still a huge fan of it, and I always will be. Another reason why I really connected with Homestuck is I'm a big fan of music. I've talked about this before, and Homestuck, they have several animations and whatnot that have music tied to them, and the music is absolutely phenomenal in Homestuck. There's many different composers of the songs. There isn't just one single person doing all the songs. So the styles and genres and sounds very, they range all over the place. You have these kind of, early on in Acts 1 through 4, these kind of 8-bit chiptune kind of video gamey song, since the comic is about a video game. But then later on, you get these crazy, just beautiful orchestral pieces, and they're just so beautiful. And what a lot of the composers and authors of the comic did too is a lot of the characters had certain musical motifs that they would apply when there was animation involving them, and it went so deep to the point that each character had their own motif. Certain combinations of characters had their own musical motifs. So when certain characters were together in the comic, they had this whole new song that would play. So you could almost listen to the Homestuck. You could almost listen to the soundtrack of Homestuck and kind of get an idea of what's going on, just because they tied the music to the characters so well. And honestly, I think my favorite tracks from Homestuck, the Cascade medley that played during Cascade. It's a 10-minute song, and it kind of takes motifs from almost every character in the comic that so far, and blend them together into this crazy, just awesome piece that fits very well with the animation. Another one of my favorite tracks from Homestuck is called Rex Duodecim Angelus, and it's actually, I think it's a 6 or 9 minute song. It's a fairly long song, and it's actually takes place in something that we actually don't see in the comic. The 12 Trolls, it's the song that takes place during their final battle in their version of the game. And each troll has their own kind of musical motif, and this song kind of blends them all together, and you really get a feel for like who's fighting who at what point. And it's a very, very good, very, very good song. And a large number of Homestuck fans actually came together and animated what that boss fight would kind of look like to that song. It's a very, very well done animation. But yeah, the music is absolutely fantastic in Homestuck. I think my favorite song from the Homestuck soundtrack is it's actually 2 small tracks. The first track is called Unite, and the second one is called Synchronization. In the comic, there's 2 short flash animations that are called Unite and Synchronization, respectively. But the 2 can be played together and the track is meant to be played as one long piece. It's only like a 3 or 4 minute song. But it's I don't know how to describe it. It's very epic sounding. Basically, in that animation, 4 other human characters are playing the game, and it's kind of the animation on how they got into the game. It's just a very, very good track. I'll probably put some links in the description to some of these things, just so you guys can get a feel for how the music sounds, because it's really amazing. The other thing I really like about Homestuck is sort of the open-endedness of a lot of things within the lore to allow us fans to kind of extrapolate on what we do know and make new things. Creating OCs or original characters is not a new concept by any means, but Homestuck really took it farther. People were creating their own fan trolls, their own versions of trolls in the game, creating, whole fan adventures on what their characters would be doing in the game, and it's really just insane how much stuff fans had come up with. And yeah, Homestuck, it's an experience. It's not just something, that you could just read and be done with it. There's a lot of outside stuff involving it, the music, the animation, the fans, the convention stuff. Like, it was just insane. And I don't know, I feel like it's really kind of hard to pinpoint a single thing that can explain why I love Homestuck so much, since it is such a multifaceted answer. But long story short, it's just, it inspires my creativity a lot. A lot of ideas I have for books or movies or songs come from Homestuck. They're inspired by Homestuck, and it's just a really good comic. So I definitely suggest that you guys go check it out. It's at homestuck.com now. It's actually been optimized for mobile devices, so you can now actually watch the flash animations. There are some interactive parts of the comic where you actually like play a game. I'm not sure how those are going to be handled, honestly, on the phone. Not that they're that complicated, but it's going to be kind of weird. But anyways, you should definitely check it out. It's crazy. It's insane. It's super, super, super long. It's going to take you months to finish. But it's totally worth it in the end. And on top of the comic, there was a spin-off comic called Paradox Space. I don't think it's actually going to be added to anymore. I think they've actually stopped it. But it was kind of small short stories on different things that could have happened in like alternate universes and alternate timelines of Homestuck. So there's that to read. As of right now, there's one Homestuck game called Hive Swap. It takes place with a whole new set of characters and a whole new setting. I believe there's going to be 2 acts to that game, acts 1 and 2, and then there's another game coming out after that called Haunt Switch, which also has 2 acts, which kind of tells the same story as Hive Swap from a different perspective. And in between that, there's a Hive Swap friendship simulator coming out, where you get to befriend the new trolls they introduced in Hive Swap. And now they've released Homestuck in book form. I believe the first book, which is Acts 1 and 2, is out right now, Barnes & Noble. I know Acts 3 and 4 are coming out later this fall, and then I don't know how they're going to do the rest of the comic, honestly, in book form. There's a lot of animation-heavy stuff. There's a lot of music-related stuff. If you want to read Homestuck as a book, by all means, go for it. But you definitely miss out on a lot of content. There's just things that will not translate well to paper. Hopefully it works out well, but who knows. Long story short, Homestuck is awesome. It's my most favorite thing in the world, and everyone should read it. Spoilers. And, holy shit. A lot of the dialogue. 10 or 11, I could be wrong. Shit. My laptop came unplugged.